Hey everyone, we are now officially live. Um, Thank you so much to everyone for being here. I'm just having a wee casting my eyes down the chat to see who's here, and I can see that we've got loads of people here already. Welcome, Malumir, my guest. Thank you so much for coming on with me. What I'll do is I'll jump down the chat and we'll say a quick hello to everyone, and then we will kick the show off. So let's see, we've got Debbie, we see her first. Debbie from Aquarius Owl says that I'm early. Well done, Debbie. Mendy from the Artistry of Tarot. We've got the lovely Kristen Louise from Empress Tarot. Stephanie Burrows. I've got Jen from Jen's Balanced Tarot, our lovely Jen. We've got Robin from Toadstool Tarot. Hi, Robin. He says, hi, everyone. Just finished writing class and penning a new piece. Cool. I hope that you enjoyed it, Robin. We've got our lovely Sue C. We've got Simon from the Hermit's Cave. Hi, Simon. How are you? And I think that's who we've got so far. That's who I can see in the chat. So that was a nice, easy one for me. So welcome, Malumir. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun to be here and actually get to talk to you like face to face in real time, not just over chat. So nice.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciate the chance to kind of go through this, you know, get my grubby wee hands on your amazing, lovely deck. So everyone knows what we're here to do. Malumir has created this stunning Chakra healing tarot. And we're going to go through it together and we're going to have a chat about it. It's going to be like a live walkthrough / first impression / flip through, but with the privilege of having our amazing, lovely creator here to keep me right and, you know, tell me off if I'm interpreting things wrong. So that's going to be exciting. So Malumir, why don't you kick us off by telling everyone just a wee bit about yourself?
Sure, okay. Yes. One thing I will say, first of all, is that I am a cat mom of 3 cats, and one of which is being very needy as we speak. So you may see some cats from time to time, so don't mind them. They're the little loves of our life. I am creating this chakra healing tarot. Of course, that's in it's like I work in the public service by day, and then by night I'm into all things spiritual and tarot. I'm also a Reiki master, an NLP practitioner, and I've been reading tarot for quite some time now. And to me, tarot is a long-term committed relationship. Isabel will agree. That's Isabel here. And I'm just so happy to be here and get to chat with folks.
Amazing. Great. Well, why don't we, so what I'll maybe do, because what I wanted to do, like, well, I don't need to tell you guys this because you all know me quite well by now. You know that, you know, the chakras are not my strong suit. They're not something that I ever had a lot of knowledge on. But thanks to our lovely Malumir here, I'm now a wee bit more in the know about it. I've kind of clued myself up a bit, and Malumir has sent me some, you know, just some information on the chakras. So I've kind of clued myself in, but I thought, why don't we kind of just like a very brief quick primer on, you know, what the chakras are and what the associations are with all 7 chakras. So what I'll maybe do is I'll turn on the card cam here, and we will put it on to, I don't want my ugly face, we want, right, this is what we want. So first of all, you can see I've got my copy of the Chakra Healing Tarot here. These are the lovely backs that we've got. So we can see, is that the Tree of Life, or
Yeah, so it's an homage to the Tree of Life, but also the backings. And I do want to say, so I am the creatrix of the deck, but I do also want to give a big shout out to EC Mazur, who is the artist who is making all of my written descriptions and all of the vision really come to life. I was so grateful to find her. She has actually made the images what I had in my head, which is just really wonderful. So the thing about the back, and that Ella did such an amazing job of, is that she's actually incorporated a little bit of each kingdom onto the backings. And it has also included the jewels, which kind of speak to the chakras. And I think, Chris, you were hoping that I might speak a bit to the what the chakras are at a very high level. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I've started off on the backs, but I know that our first card, the Fool, actually has all 7 chakras on. So I was thinking what I could maybe do is pop the Fool there, and I
great.
can be your glamorous assistant in the Pokemon t-shirt and point to each chakra as you're talking about
That's
it,
great.
and
I
at
love
least
it.
just pretend that I'm useful. um,
Absolutely. No, I love it. Okay,
cool.
so
Okay.
so then we'll start with the root chakra, which is the one at the bottom, and it's red. That's right.
Yep.
So the root chakra. So just one note about the chakras and kind of what they are at a high level. They're part of our energy body. Okay, and chakras. The concept of chakras is an ancient spiritual belief from India. And chakra in Sanskrit means disc, because the idea is that they're like these energy centers. The chakras are energy centers that are within our energy body. And the idea is that they gently spin around. So just if you're wondering where they are located, that's why where the jewels are showing you where the level of the body where they're located. But just so you're aware, the chakras, they're actually more centered around the spine. Okay, so if you think of where your spine is, and that they gently go around in a circle around the spine. Okay, so coming to the root chakra, that's the red one at the bottom.
Mhm.
The root chakra is all about our sense of safety and security. It's all about our being grounded, our feeling that we can take up space, our connection to this earth, as well as our connection to tangible things. So this is where boundaries are, or vulnerability, or if we've ever had issues with safety and security, which I know many of us have. I can speak for myself; I absolutely have. That's where those kinds of emotions tend to be stored. So that's the root chakra. Moving up one to the orange one, that's the sacral chakra. So if you're wondering where this is located, it's kind of between the bottom of your pelvis and your belly button, kind of that level, and a bit further back around your back. And the sacral chakra is associated with our creativity, our creation. And just to be clear, you don't have to be a creative person, right? Because some people are like, oh, I'm not creative, that doesn't apply to me. But you know what? Everyone creates something in some way, right? Like we all create meals, we create a life for ourselves, we create habits. And so it's related to also our sexuality, which is also a form of creation. So again, wherever there have been issues with creative blocks, or where there have been traumas related to sexuality, the impacts are often noticed in the sacral chakra. And I'll get into it a bit later, but there's often also challenges with relationships between chakras, but I'll get into that in a bit. Moving up one to the yellow one, that is the solar plexus chakra. So if you're wondering where that is, if you feel to where the bottom of your ribs are, if you just at the front, and then you move back, that's where the solar plexus chakra is. The solar plexus chakra is all about your sense of self, your identity, your confidence. Okay. And so where there have been issues of where you have been made to feel shame, or that where people have made you as a person or your identity a problem, that's often where we tend to store those kinds of traumas. And so then moving up to the green chakra, that is a heart chakra. And that's our heart. And the heart chakra, that's the seat of our emotions. So this is where, you know, if we've ever experienced heartbreak and it feels like our chest physically hurts, our actual heart may be totally fine, but that's why it feels that heaviness and that weight is because of the heart chakra. But it's also where all of the good emotions have the opportunity to flow from as well. And so then moving up one to the blue one, and I will just say, folks, some of the colors did in this prototype did print a bit dark, and Ella has brightened up all of those for you. So apologies if it's a bit hard to see some of them. This is a prototype.
See, actually,
and,
I'll see if I can, because there's a couple of cards that have got all 7, so I'll see if I can switch to one of
yeah,
them and maybe make it a wee bit easier. If there's, let's see.
yeah, that's okay. And maybe while you're doing that, I can just talk to the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is blue, and it's located right here in the throat. And so if you've ever felt that lump in your throat, that is the throat chakra, and that is related to expression, right? Have you been able to speak your truth? Have you been able to express how you really think or feel? Where you've been silenced or demeaned or invalidated for something that you've expressed, or where you have felt that you could not express yourself for whatever reason, that's where it gets stored in the throat chakra. So that's blue. And then next, the third eye chakra. So some people think it's like right here in the front. It's at this level, but again, it's further back in the center of the brain. So that one is indigo. And that one is related to intuition and spiritual sight. Okay. But I will say, I think sometimes folks think, oh, you have to have special like psychic abilities. But I really believe that we all have the ability to connect spiritually and to intuit spiritually. And it's just, it could be a different experience. Some people just cognitively know, some people are more clairvoyant, some people, they get audible cues, but all of those abilities reside in the third eye chakra. And so often, and I mean, so many people in this community, we're all empaths, right? And so that's a chakra that tends to hold a lot because we've been brought up in a society that quite frequently does not actually support empaths, right? We've been so, because we're so sensitive in that chakra, often that chakra has gone into, ooh, got to be self-protective because there's just so much influx. And so that can often be felt in the third eye chakra. And so the last chakra, the one at the very top, is the crown chakra. And that one is associated with the color violet. And so that's the crown, it rests like right up here. It's not actually in your head, it's right above your head. And that chakra, the crown chakra, is all about connection to what is outside of yourself, right? So it's not just connection to the spiritual, although it can be. It's really about your individual connection to community, right? To the universe, to other, to the concept of other. And so actually, you know, the shadow work that can also be done in connection with the crown chakra, because sometimes there's, you know, in shadow work, there's a part of ourselves that, you know, we might not like and we see it as other and, ooh, that's not me. But if we can actually heal our crown chakra, we can actually more fully embrace all parts of ourselves. So at a very high level, that was the very quick overview of the chakras. One thing I will say is that I have used the 7 system chakra for this deck. It's the most widely used system, but I do also want to to give, and show respect to the fact that the idea of chakras is very ancient and there are differing beliefs over them. In some beliefs, there are only 5 chakras. In others, there are literally thousands. But the 7 chakra system is the most widely known these days. And as a Reiki master, I use a 7 chakra system to work with people's bodies. And so I went with the 7 chakra system. Just wanted to make that point because there's a lot of different beliefs on chakras from ancient times.
Cool. Mendy's asked a question, and if I can ask anyone who wants to ask a question at any point, just follow Mendy's example, either pop it in capitals or tag me or both, and I'll be able to see it. How tied are you in your work to the standard colours relating to each chakra?
Yeah, so I went with the standard colors just because those are the ones that are most commonly understood. And I wanted to make sure that it would be very accessible to everyone. Like, let's say, you're not very familiar with chakras and you stumble across this deck and want to learn more about them. I wanted to make sure that it was aligned with a lot of the other available literature that's out there these days, just so that if this is your introduction to chakras, that it's all aligned with the other information that you'll find. But if you do feel that other colors, for whatever reason, resonate with you, then that's something to pay attention to. And actually, it's also possibly a good segue to talk a bit about the relationships between chakras. One possible reason that you may be feeling an association of different colors with certain chakras is that there may be actually an important relationship between those two chakras for you. And what I mean by that is that we often experience very complex situations, right? It's never usually as simple as, oh, someone made me feel shame, and therefore I now have a problem with my solar plexus chakra. It's usually connected to something else. It's someone may have shamed you as a person for expressing yourself. So that would be a relationship between the throat chakra and the solar plexus chakra, right? And so there may be an important connection there. Or if someone, grew up in a very unsafe situation, like myself, say, but it was also very heartbreaking, right? Like their little heart was just crushed, then that would be a connection between the root chakra and the heart chakra, right? So that's also something to pay attention to if you're looking at those colors and how they may be different from the standard, just something to pay attention to.
Yeah. Okay, that looks cool. Malumir, can you see this camera? Do you feel as though it's going in and out of focus all the time, or is it just me watching it on my screen?
A little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure
Right.
if others are noticing it. To me, I
I
can see
don't
it.
know.
Yeah, it's going in and out.
Do you know what I'm going to do? So I'm sorry, I know I'm going to be making everyone dizzy here, and
Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Mindy.
I'm going to try and sort it here. I'm going to try and move yous just a
It's all
wee
good.
bit, because I don't know if it's because I've got books down there, and I don't know if it's focusing in on the title, because I can see the Hobbit title down there, away down there.
Like,
I can't see
what's
the cards that are right below the camera. So I don't know if I'm making any difference or what. We'll see how we get on. But hopefully, if I hold it close enough to the camera, it'll focus and we can talk about each card. So you'll have seen there that there are a couple of cards that contain all 7 chakras. So what we're going to do now, I think, we're going to have a look, go through the cards, and have a chat about them. Now we are going to kind of try and follow the kind of standard order. I know a lot of us like to kind of do our flip throughs in a certain order, but there are some kind of things I want to focus on. So the first kind of, and I feel as though the focus on this camera is terrible, but we're just going to hope and pray that it sorts itself out. So let's see, we've got the Fool, we've got the Wheel, and we've got the World, which we saw there as well. Now these are the only 3 cards that have all 7 chakras on them. Is that right, Malumir?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And so the 3 have all of them because. So I'll just zoom out for a second, metaphorically speaking. All the majors, except for these 3, have 2 chakras, because it's something that I noticed working as a Reiki master, that so frequently there are there are issues that so many of us have with a relationship between two chakras, right? Where there is some kind of connection, something happened, and both of them kind of have been doing this feedback loop between each other. And so the majors, all the majors except for these three, have two chakras, which speaks to an important relationship between those two chakras. All of the minors have one chakra, and then these three have all seven. And that is because there are times when it is really useful and important to align all the chakras together. It's kind of like doing, sometimes, our computers start doing something strange, or our phone starts acting up, and so we restart it, right? We do a reset. Same kind of thing for chakras. Sometimes you just kind of have to do a reset where you get all the chakras one by one, all aligned, and don't manage any heavy equipment after doing that, but make sure you can do something relaxing after. But it is important that all seven of them be aligned, and that kind of energy was really contained in the Fool and the World, but also the Wheel, because the Wheel, and getting at the idea that sometimes there are just external forces that happen that we have no control over, and they do affect us. But that doesn't mean that we're just stuck being, helpless victims. I mean, yes, something bad has happened, but now we have a choice of, okay, so what are we going to do about the situation that has been landed at our feet? And how do we get ourselves fully aligned to progress on our journey?
Perfect. I mean, the wheel is they kind of turn it off and restart it again. They turn it off and turn it back on again card, isn't it? Essentially, like it's that kind of big change, and I love it. Because you're absolutely right. Do you know what I mean? The Fool is you're at the start of your journey. Do you know what I mean? That's when you're just starting out, and then the World is when we've achieved the enlightenment, or we have aligned all of our chakras. So no, I absolutely love it. I'm just looking at the images on the cards here. I don't know how well you guys can see this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this a bit closer to try and give you a good look at it. So we've obviously
and that
got
will be brightened up, folks. I'm sorry, it's so dark.
No, it's fine in person. I think it's just the way my camera. In fact, do you know what might help? See if I maybe turn a wee light on. Hang on.
Okay, yeah, go for it. So just while Chris is doing that, so in exciting news, Ella has brightened all of the colors, and also for some folks who may already get my newsletter, I wrote this week about how, oh my God, it was one of those like #creator_fail moments where I realized that a year and a half ago when I was writing the descriptions, I accidentally misassigned one chakra in 5 of the majors, and I didn't realize till after I'd sent it to print, and I'm like, oh, it was one of those moments. But Ella was very gracious about me and assured me that it was a simple thing to fix. So she has fixed those now. So unfortunately, it's not in this version of the prototype, but it has been fixed.
Amazing. Justin's asked a question there, Malumir. I don't know if you've got your eye on the chat. He says, are you familiar with the Pythagorean system of soul centers? He says, I came in late and might have missed it if you mentioned it.
I'm actually not familiar with that. Does that get at the idea? Is that related to sacred geometry?
I would imagine because it's Pythagoras, but I really don't. I know Justin loves these Pythagorean stuff.
I'm curious now. I'm very curious. I mean, there are, and just to be clear, there are a lot of different systems for energy work and the energy body. I mean, the chakra system is one of the systems, and it's, it is a really useful structure and system for sure, but it's definitely not the only one. I mean, from a Kabbalistic perspective, there are 10 sephira, and they actually relate to the human body. And I actually incorporated the Tree of Life and those Kabbalistic principles into the deck. But I don't want to get too far down that road, because you'll very quickly find me going down a rabbit hole very quickly. But from a middle pillar perspective in the Golden Dawn, there would be 5 energy centers. And so there are so many different systems for the energy body. And I was already, told at an early time when I was developing this idea that it would be complicated, but I actually think that the way that I've been able to do this is very, very accessible, and hopefully, very accessible by showing people here's the chakras and where they're located on your body for this card.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. If I can understand it, then anyone here can understand it. Let me put it that way. So yeah, there was a couple of things that I really, really love that I just wanted to point out, just from a kind of, from my own point of view. So if you can see in the full here, so obviously this deck is Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. Would you call it that? Like it follows that kind of system.
It is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith. Yes.
So we've got the Fool starting out on his journey. Do you know what I mean? You can see him kind of looking out. There's a rainbow shining down, and that's illuminating all the chakras. Now, up here in the distance, we can see this kind of volcano that's erupting with all 7 colours of the chakra or the rainbow. And then compare that to the world, and we actually see the volcano again. Sorry, let's just let my camera catch up with itself. So we see the volcano again. But this time we see, our hero, our Fool, is underneath the rainbow. He's levitating, he's achieved that enlightenment. We get this kind of palatial, feel down here. So it's absolutely, stunning, out of this world. So it is. So yeah, no, that really works for me personally. So yeah, no, this is definitely a deck that's going to be accessible. I mean, even if you don't know about the chakras and you don't ever care to know, like, you would still be able to use this deck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely created it that way. And actually, maybe I can touch really quickly on gender in the deck, if that's okay.
Please, yeah.
So when I was writing up the descriptions for the deck, something that was very important to me is that was to think about how gender and sexuality would be incorporated into the deck. And so there are quite a few characters where my written descriptions were very clear about that this person should appear non-binary, or their gender should not be immediately obvious, right? Okay. Because I think that I wanted to make sure that this deck would be inclusive of people from a whole range of gender and sexual identities. And so when you look at the Fool, and like I said, it's hard when you're not, looking at it in person, but when you look at it in person, the Fool and the World, as you pointed out, Chris, they are the same character, but how you relate to the gender in the Fool and the World will be your experience. And so there are definitely characters that would clearly identify as female and would clearly identify as male, but there's also a lot of characters that are deliberately non-binary or otherwise may have other gender representation. So I did want to just touch on that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've got the wheel here as well. So I was just trying to make the camera focus whilst you were speaking there. Out of interest, I'm interested in is this a mirror, or what are we looking at here?
I think the way that I wrote it in the description is I said a mystical circular instrument that the figure looks like they are manipulating from a distance. So it's the idea that it's like a wheel, and that there are two parts. There's the one part that would be going the one direction, and then the inner part that would be going the other direction, with the chakras holding still in the middle.
Do you know, that's really funny, because up until you said manipulating, I seen that as someone looking in a mirror and holding their hands out like that with the chakras kind of. See, as soon as you said manipulating, I looked at her hands and I can see she's turning the wheel. So again, I'm saying she, but I can see that they're turning the wheel. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I can see it now. So it is essentially a wheel, like you say, it's a mystical, object that she's manipulating. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, so those are the wheel, and the world. Now, what we'll do is we'll go through the majors, and we'll just kind of touch on them. I know that there are 5 majors where you just said
Yep.
the chakra representations are going to be off in the deck that I've got. But when this is kind of published and whatnot, then that's going to be sorted, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So the magician is the first one that's where it's not quite.
Yeah,
So
one
we've
of the
got our
chakras
magician
is
here.
yeah, yeah. And so it's fine to show them. It's fine to show them, and then I can explain which chakra is different.
Okay.
So that is the magician. And so
Hmm.
the magician, so the top one, the crown chakra, is correct, but the second chakra is actually the third eye. It should be the
Okay.
third eye instead of the throat. So that has been corrected.
Okay, dokes. That's fine. And so obviously we can see, like, just from a kind of tarot imagery point of view, we've got a beautiful standard magician here. I would say this is probably a card where the gender is really kind of ambiguous. That could be a male or a female to me, or any gender really. It doesn't really have to assign any way. Um, I won't ask you about this on each and every single card, but
Sure.
going to tell us a bit about, so this would have been, in fact, no, what we'll maybe do is we'll maybe move on to the High Priestess and we can talk about it there, because the High Priestess has got the correct chakra alignments, is that right?
The high priestess, yes, the high priestess did. That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So we can see our High Priestess has got so that's the crown and the solar plexus, yeah?
that's right. Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
So what I was going
yes.
to ask was for you to talk us through how you come up with those associations, and
Yeah.
how they apply to the cards. The reason I didn't want to do it with the magician is obviously because it's not the same one. So I thought we're as well picking a card, but it's where we see the ones that we're talking about.
And actually, in the explanation, it'll also become clear how I made those misassignments for those 5 cards. So the way that I assigned the chakras is that, and by the way, I will also just point out, I'm neurologically atypical. I have Tourette syndrome. So if you see me making weird faces, I'm not deliberately making weird faces. It's my neurology. I can't help it. Just so you're aware, just so people aren't like, oh, why is she making weird faces? So how I assigned the chakras. So there is the tree of life in the Kabbalah, and the tree of life is a system that already has tarot correspondences on it, right? So if you've ever heard anyone talk about path working, for example, that's where there are the paths between the Sephira, which are like, if you imagine, I mean, I'm oversimplifying, just for folks who may not be familiar with these kind of power centers known as Sephira, okay? And so there are already chakra correspondences with the tree of life. Then the challenge was, okay, but how do I assign the chakras? Because I really wanted to make it a chakra healing deck, because I work with the chakras so much, and I can see how important, I've seen how important it is to help people with their chakras. And I did a lot of research, and there is no like set agreement in the Kabbalistic community about what the correspondences are. Everyone agrees that yes, the chakras do relate to the tree of life, but there isn't one solid set agreement on exactly how. And so it was a bit of okay, I'm going to need to feel this out and do my research. And I've actually written a blog post on my blog about how I assign the chakras, but without getting too far in the weeds, because I can go into the weeds very quickly. I actually have some graphics there of how I assign them. So the very top Sephiroth is I assign to the crown, because, and sorry, just to back up and to reiterate something I said earlier, the tree of life does correspond to the human body, right? And there is definitely recognition of that, which is how everyone agrees that yes, the chakras do relate. Here's where it gets a little tricky. The physical location of some of the Sephira on the tree of life, they could correspond to either or. So that's the issue with 2 of the Sephira, where they could correspond to either the third eye or the throat, or both the third eye and the throat. And then and those were really the key ones where there is the most challenge in assigning. The others were a bit more clear, where okay, that definitely, you know, clearly connects to the heart. This one clearly connects to the solar plexus. These clearly connect to the sacral and root chakras, particularly, you know, having worked with the chakras so extensively and understanding the tree of life. And I've done a lot of tree of life work myself. And understanding all those correspondences. But the real struggle really was those two Sephira, where it's like, okay, is that throat? Is that third eye? And so what I did is I actually realized that I'm trying to make something a binary that is not automatically binary, and they're both. Okay. And so what it means, and, you know, is that for the majors, because they have two chakras, I had assigned the one half to that card, where it should have been the other half that was related to the other chakra. But basically, there are a couple of things that are different from the Tree of Life tarot correspondences. For example, the pages. I have assigned the pages to the crown chakra, whereas for those who are familiar with the Tree of Life, the pages are usually in Malkut, right? But the thing about the Tree of Life is that knowing how it works through the different worlds, and I won't get into too much depth for that because I don't want to lose anyone, but basically the idea is that when you reach one end of the Tree of Life, there is a notion that it actually begins again. Okay, exactly. And so for the pages and the association with, you know, when you're at this point of learning and building on something, there's all that possibility that exists, right? And you haven't yet reached that point where it's fully manifested yet. And so for me, that was very much the crown chakra, you know, and the association of Keter. And so so for example, the pages you'll see are not associated with the root and Malkut. It's with the crown and Keter.
Okay.
So I just threw out a lot of information, and I want to be careful not to lose people, because it gets very technical very quickly. But I do have a full post on my blog in case anyone wants to totally nerd out.
No, that's amazing. You explained that beautifully. Our lovely Diane's here. She says, "Love the crown for the pages," and it does make sense, like, because the whole you know, collective unconscious thing, and the whole, like, kind of idea that, you know, we're just all part of this collective unconscious, and we rise, you know, every now and then a wave rises, and that's us. And you know, so the page is that beginning, you know, it's that like kind of manifestation out of the collective unconscious. And if I've understood it correctly, the collective unconscious is like your crown chakra. That is what that's
Yeah.
associated with. So
So
no,
well said.
I'm there with you. I totally
So well said. Yes.
I think I'm getting it so far. So yeah, so we've got our high priestess is assigned to the crown and the solar plexus.
That's right.
We've, you know, like I say, in terms of the standard tarot imagery, we've got, you know, we've got the closed book here. Now, interestingly, we appear to have, we don't have the stand what we normally expect to see with the pillars, but we do have the two kind of like voids here, where the pillars appear to be creating the voids. Now, is there anything to that? Like,
Yes.
what's the?
For sure. So the way that I created the kingdoms is that so the majors, I'll start with the majors, the kingdom of the majors. Mm-hmm. These kingdoms all happen in this magical universe, okay, where the majors are at the top of the sacred mountain, okay? And so you can see these ancient temple ruins at the top of the mountain, and then the minors each are in their own kingdom around the base of the mountain. Okay, so, and I will look at it later, but the wands are in the base of the mountain in the sacred caves, and the pentacles take place in the mystical forest that's at the base of the mountain. The chalices take place in the watery palaces that are on the other side of the mountain. And then, of course, the swords are in the kingdom of the air and the clouds above the mountain. And so the idea of the high priestess is that she is in a closed-in space. You can tell she's still at the top of a mountain, but she is in this sacred space where it's just her, and and you can't see the detail as well here, but close up, she's got the crescent moon symbols on her face, and they're glowing, which gets to the idea of the moon at the bottom of the both on her headwear and the moon that's at her feet in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. Oh, thank you, Chris. That's great.
Okay. I feel as though that still looks a bit blurry for me, but I don't know if everyone else is seeing the same thing that I am, because on the camera on my phone it looks fine, but on the screen on the computer it doesn't. So yeah, hopefully that you can kind of make it out there. So that's our High Priestess. The next card is our lovely Empress.
Yes, okay. The Empress. And this is another card that was definitely brightened a bit. But the Empress, you can see here, she has the third eye chakra and the throat chakra. And her space that she's in, you can tell, like, there's this ivy and these elaborate columns, and then she's got some fruit there, and you can actually see that hovering above her hand is a little magical plant that she is giving life to. And it gets harder to tell. Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, she's got this little plant that's hovering above her hand that she is nourishing and nurturing.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, this card is stunning. So it is. It is quite dark, and it will be easier to see a lot of the detail when it's, well, I can see it fine, but like I say, it'll be easier to see on camera when it's lighter. But
exactly.
But yeah, I love it, and I do actually like. I'm a novice when it comes to like kind of the chakras and working out the associations and how they link, but like the High Priestess, not the High Priestess, the Empress, she's like the nurturer. She's like that kind of divine mother energy, you know. So for me, it's like the kind of the empath combined with the throat. It's like expressing that, you know. It's the encouragement. It is that nurturing. So to me, I can make sense of that, you know, that association.
Exactly.
Now, the Emperor is the next one where the chakras are.
Yep, another one. So for this one, the Emperor, so that should actually be the throat chakra and the solar plexus. So it would be the blue one here, and then the yellow one is correct. That's right.
Perfect. Okay. And you know, in terms of tarot imagery, we've got a stunning Emperor here. You know, he kind of, you can really kind of get the authority from him. He really does kind of command that respect. And again, just kind of from a novice's point of view of understanding the very basics of the chakras, you know, that sense of self-identity and that, you know, that throat chakra. So basically expressing yourself and expressing who you are is a big part of Emperor energy. I've got cards where I think it might be the Bright Future tarot that I recently done a walkthrough of, but it's like, on the wall behind the Emperor is all these masks. So it's this idea of, you know, being able to assume the identity that you need to basically get your shit together, get your shit done. So I love it. I love it. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing here with putting the cards down. But you know how, like, usually you just make a nice wee pile. I'm making about 10 nice wee piles here. So let's just get that together here. That's not very good. What I'll do is I'll bring these over here and see if that see if that makes things a bit easier. So Hierophant.
Yes, here's the Hierophant, where again, one of the chakras will be different. So this was a similar thing where instead of the third eye and the heart, it'll be the throat and the heart. And so it will be the blue and the green instead of the purple and the green there.
Okay. Perfect. I love the books, the bookcases. See, that is my dream office. That's what I want this place to look like.
Me too. And
Only
the
instead of
view.
books, it would maybe be tarot cards, tarot decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, and I love just the something to do with purple and green together. Just really works for me. So it does. I love the kind of the green offset with the purple. It's just so nice. Okay, dokes. The next one we've got is the lovers.
The lovers. Okay, so the lovers again. So I think this is the fifth card, or this is the fourth card where the hashtag creator life fail happened. So this would be, so the yellow solar plexus is correct, but it will actually be the third eye chakra. So it'll be the dark purple. Now this card, it was very important to me that the gender not be explicitly obvious in these cards. And so when you actually have it in front of you, and we went a few drafts on this, and on many of this, you know, I mean, Ella has been an amazing artist to work with, and you know, in many of the drafts, like she got it, you know, out of the gate. For this one, we did a few because, you know, it was just slight tweaking, and you know, so when she sent this back, and when you actually study it, you know, up close and in person, it gets at the idea of not only the diversity of all the kinds of love that there are, but even the self-love, the aspects of self that do we, you know, how do we identify with ourself, and how do we love the different parts of ourselves that we may or may not recognize, right? So that's all kind of contained in this lovers card. So that will be the deep purple and the yellow.
Yeah, amazing. And again, if I can just say, third eye and solar plexus. So solar plexus is that identity, but the third eye is almost like connecting with, you know. So the lovers is obviously about that connection and that harmony between, you know, maybe two people, maybe more, but you know, maybe even less, but like, right, hang on, what am I trying to say here? So the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that the lovers card, you know, we associate it with that harmony and that connection with something else. And you're sharing a part of yourself, you know, you're sharing your identity, you know,
Yes.
it's like two souls coming together to make one, you know. So I love, again, love the chakra associations that we've got in this card. So I do. Yeah.
And the aspect of the third eye, that our spiritual experience and our intuitive experience, it's truly something that no one else can make you feel or have, right? That is something that is your own, because someone can go through all the logic in the world that, you know, with you that they want, but at the end of the day, if something just intuitively feels off or doesn't feel right, or something, you just know, if everyone's like, what are you doing, this is ridiculous, like what are you doing here, and another person, and you yourself just know, no, this is the right decision, right? That kind of intimacy with yourself, or intimacy with others, in relationship, in love, is something that really is deep. And so, yeah, so that connection is absolutely important. This is the last one where, okay, so this one, instead of the throat and the heart, it will be the third eye and the heart. So it's the blue and green, it's purple and green.
Okay, amazing. So third eye and heart. So we can see here that we've got obviously the chakras are energized on our human figure, on our person, but also in each of the horses. You know, they've got one chakra, you know, energized, illuminated, or they at least represented on them. So we've got the heart, and then we would have the third eye. Yeah. So yeah, stunning. I love how it's kind of, you know, the chariot's taking off, it's taking flight, you know, it's taking you to new heights almost, you know. Absolutely stunning. So it is. There are a couple of questions that are
Yeah, sure.
forming, and so I've got
Sure, yeah.
Kristen is asking which program did Ella use, did the illustrator use?
Oh, how did she? Oh, yeah. So, it's Ella Mazur. If you look her up, she's EC Mazur, like EC are initials, and then Mazur, Mazur. She's also Toronto based like me. So Ella, she draws in pen and ink first. Okay, so all the outlines were done, you know, on paper with pen and ink. And then she, I'm not sure which digital program she used, but she does do all the coloring digitally, which is how she gets the chakras to glow. And when you actually hold the Chariot card in your hand and see it, you can actually see like the sun gleaming up through the clouds, through the horses. And she did all of that. She actually created magic. So definitely you should look her up. She's wonderful.
I think we've answered Robin's question in the process there, so we have, because he was asking who's Ella, and he was also asking who's the illustrator. So there you go, Robin. I've got Stephanie. She says, I think this might be more of a comment. So she says, I like how if you weren't familiar with the chakras, you could still understand this deck, almost like easing you into something new. And can I just like really echo that? Because for me, this is, like before I kind of, before I started kind of looking into this deck, I had absolutely no idea. I could maybe give you a rough idea. Obviously I would have known where the heart chakra is, and I could have probably have hazarded a guess as to what it meant, maybe the third eye too. But apart from that, I'm really not in the know about it. So I mean, I feel as though I've kind of learned so much already just from having this conversation with you and stuff. So yeah, this really is like for anyone who is interested in kind of getting to know more about the chakras, then I can't recommend this highly enough.
Yeah. And so I'm just seeing a couple more comments there. So the name of the deck is the Chakra Healing Tarot. So it'll be crowdfunding soon. I'll announce that date soon. And so it and so I did and so I mean, I guess the word collaboration, and just to be clear, like I actually paid up front for all of the art myself. It was a lot of, and it's one of those things as a creator, because if I were to draw it, it might be a stick person tarot, and that already exists. So finding an artist who could create the art that I saw in my head, that was quite a process. And I'm so grateful that the universe did its magic, and I was able to connect with Ella, and I'm very grateful that she was willing to to enter into contract with me and do such amazing work on this deck. It definitely, I was grateful to find her, and that she was willing to be retained for it, because a lot of artists, they'll back off from a tarot deck at 78 pieces of art, and they'll say, sorry, I'd have to set aside too many other projects. But I was grateful that Ella was willing to take me on as a client, and that she's been so great to work with. Yeah,
that's amazing. Elaine from Celtic Roots Tarot. Hi, Elaine, by the way. I don't think I said hello to you when you came in. Elaine's another a fellow Scot. Elaine, I think, is over in Edinburgh. Is that right, Elaine? Or over here that way? Over kind of just across from me at the other kind of. So I'm on the west coast, and I think Elaine's kind of over east. But anyway, that's not important. Elaine says, "Why Tree of Life
and Chakra?" I miss all my family there.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were saying to me you've got family over here.
Yeah, they're up in the Highlands. I haven't seen them since 2019 because pandemic. But anyway, sorry, you were saying about Elaine. Sorry.
Oh, don't tell Justin you've got family in the Highlands. He's been watching Outlander, so he'll be right on to you. He'll talk the ears off you. Justin could I got this expression from him, so I feel quite comfortable saying it. Justin could talk the balls off a snooker table, so he could.
That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway, so Elaine says, why Tree of Life and Chakra? So what was it that, you're obviously a Reiki master, yeah, so.
Yeah, so coming back to then why I did both is that the chakras, I really wanted to create a tarot deck that had the chakras in them, because having worked with so many clients as a Reiki master, I've seen what happens. Like, we hold emotions in our bodies, and we hold memories in our bodies. And it's not, people talk about muscle memory. That's part of it. But, we actually physically hold emotions and memories in our bodies that, that they, if they're not processed, they can shut down or be really suppressed and then just not work together. And then we can end up with all sorts of emotional challenges, and it can even start affecting our physical bodies. For example, people who have had a lot of solar plexus challenges can often end up with stomach type issues, right? Because it's right in that same location. And also, interestingly, the knees. There's an association between the solar plexus and the knees, and their root chakra. If someone has had root chakra issues, that sense of safety, that can lead to all sorts of hip challenges or hip mobility issues. If you've ever, tried to do a yoga class and started to panic when you did, one of the hip openers, that's probably related to root chakra challenges or foot and ankle challenges also. And with throat issues, I knew someone who used to only be able to whisper. There was nothing medically wrong with her vocal cords, but she could only talk like this. That's a throat chakra, challenge where it hadn't been given the opportunity to process and heal. And so it hunkered down, right? Because our chakras, when we encounter a trauma, our whole being, body, mind, spirit, it does what it needs to do to protect us and get us through. But sometimes that means that it goes into survival mode. And we all know that we're in survival mode. We're not actually at our best, right? And that's what happens with the chakras. And so I really wanted to create a deck that would help people reconnect to their bodies, because it's heartbreaking. And I mean, I've experienced it myself, being disconnected from our bodies just because we've been through traumas and we've had our hearts broken and we've been through hard things. I really want to help people connect with their bodies and heal with their bodies, and heal emotionally and energetically. And I know it's possible. And that's why I believe so strongly in working with the chakras. And the reason that I incorporated the tree of life into making the correspondences is because the way that I read tarot is I incorporate Kabbalistic principles and the tree of life into the way that I read. That's just how I read the tarot. And so I'm already very familiar with that system, with that structure. And to me, having worked with that, there were some very clear crosswalks between the chakras, which are aligned with the energy body, and the tree of life, which also aligns with the body. And so to me, there was a really beautiful opportunity to meld the two. Sorry, I talked for a really long time, but I get very passionate when I talk about people's self-healing and empowerment. It's just so important.
Absolutely. And please don't apologize ever, because no, we're all loving it. We're loving hearing you talk about it. I could listen to you all day. What was I going to say there? One of the things that when I was reading the stuff you sent me, so I think I've said it already, but I'll say it again. So, not being very clued up on the chakras, Malumir very kindly sent me some of the text that's going to be put in the book that
it
comes
was
with the
a
deck?
very
Yeah.
short excerpt. Yes, that's right. Because there's I wrote a 200-page book to go with the deck.
Yeah, amazing.
It's
amazing.
not a big book, by the way, just to be clear. It's a tarot-sized book, but it's 20,000 words. And yes, it's in depth. It talks about the chakras, tree of life. There's a description for every single card, including, so there's a description like a chakra healing message, and also the chakras that relate. I also included the planetary and elemental energy associated with the cards, and that's based on the Golden Dawn tradition, just because some people really like that. It's not on the cards, but it's in the book. And then there's also key phrases for both the glowing and suppressed. And that might be helpful, especially for people if you do read with reversals, but even if you don't read with reversals, you'll see it all resonates. I also included traditional key phrases for folks who are completely new to tarot, and if you're trying to build up your knowledge.
Yeah, amazing. One of the things that struck me when I was, what am I doing? Oh, I can actually. Oh, never mind. One of the things that struck me when I was reading that, the reason I brought that up is because quite a lot of the times when you describe the deck, you describe it as gentle. I notice you use that word quite frequently, the gentle chakra healing tarot, and I would, that, like, just in hearing you talking there, and and looking through the deck and kind of getting to know how it's going to work with people. That is what I would say is, you know, it is intended for, you know, to be a kind of gentle, to help you gently kind of heal. So yeah, no, that was something that I picked up on when I was reading, and it's something that really kind of is quite strong. I feel it quite strongly throughout the, you know, the deck and just listening to you.
I'm really, really happy to hear that it translates as gentle, because if for anyone who, if you've never experienced Reiki energy is really gentle. And, you know, usually the reason that we're dealing with chakra problems and traumas is that something wasn't gentle, right? So we need a lot of gentleness in approaching them and healing and reconnecting with ourselves. Not trying to force anything, right? Super gentle with ourselves.
Yep. Right. Did we talk about strength? Have we covered that one, or?
Yeah, no.
No. Okay. So with strength, am I right in thinking we've got the heart and the third eye?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So
yeah,
heart and third
and
eye. What's that, sorry?
That lion, I love that lion so much. She did such a good job on the lion.
I know, he's beautiful, isn't he? And again, we've got this green and purple that, you know, I didn't even realise that I liked it so much, if I'm totally honest with you. There's just something really striking about it. But yeah, absolutely stunning. We've got the Hermit. Again, you know, and I've said it already, but I'll say it again, like, you know, it really, you really can easily relate to the images, you know. It has that real strong kind of Rider-Waite Smith feel to it, but it's different enough that it's, you know, it feels fresh and it feels new. But you can totally understand what's happening. Do you know what I mean? So, oh, Gerald, look, this chap appears to have a fantastic moustache. Not as fantastic as yours, mind you, but.
And this is another card where it's hard to see on the camera because it's dark and they will be brightened, but there are fjords in the background also, and mountains.
Oh yeah, I see him. Yeah, and he's standing. He appears to be standing on like a balcony here. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, that's right. And if you look closely, there are acorns and oak leaves on his cloak.
Oh yeah, I see it. Let me see if I can. There we go. So you can see the fjords and you can see the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's great. And because there are, you know, some of the symbol behind the acorns and oak leaves are about the spiritual knowledge and the sacred and secret spiritual knowledge. And so instead of creating, for example, a 6-point star in the lantern, I incorporated that same kind of symbology and idea onto his cloak, and asked and wrote into the description to put acorns and oak leaves on the cloak.
Nice. And here we've got the heart and the solar plexus chakras. Yeah.
That's right.
So that you know, getting in touch with yourself, you know, I suppose that makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay. Right, now obviously we'll skip the wheel because we've already looked at the wheel, so we're on to justice now. Again, I love this justice. This justice is she's an absolute stunner. So she is.
Yes. I mean, that power, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. So we've got our now. Is that the sacral chakra? And well, I know it's the heart, but is that the sacral? Yeah, sacral.
That's right. That's right. It's the sacral.
Okay. We've got the 4 pillars behind her. I love how the sword or the knife or whatever you would call that, it's kind of floating above her hand. That's something that's really pleasing to me. I really like that. I can.
She's just that powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's, you know, it's always nice to see, like, I think when we see decks and we see justice cards, quite often there's this we quite often see the blinded figure, you know, the blindness of justice, and we get quite traditional symbolism. So it's lovely to see you know, something that's a bit different. And it's always, for me, it's always really pleasing to see a stunning person of colour on a justice card. So it is. So yeah, absolutely love it. I'm so sorry that my camera doesn't seem to be playing the game. I don't think I've ever had so much trouble with my camera. Like, I don't know what it
It's
is
all
that's
that
causing it.
chakra energy. It's all that chakra energy. It's
Jeez,
just
oh, I'm going to give it a right good boot in the chakra if it doesn't start playing the game with me.
it needs a chakra realignment.
Yeah. Um, right. Okay, so we've got our hanged one. So the hanged one rather than anything else. And again, I would say looking at the gender is quite ambiguous. Like this could really be anything here or anyone. Um, I know quite often people like to look at the hanged one, the right way up. So let me just see if I can focus in on his face here, or maybe not.
Oh, there you go. It's
There we
zooming now.
are.
Yeah,
Perfect. So is that heart and sacral?
that's right. Yeah, also heart and sacral. And again, another thing about the prototype is the template was a couple millimeters a different size than the mass printer template, and so in the effort to get prototypes printed, uh, some of the images are a little more zoomed in than they will be on the actual card, so it just makes some of it look a bit cut off. So what you can't really see here is that actually the moonlight is gleaming, reflecting onto the sacred pool that the hanged one is hanging, is hovering over.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it a little bit, but it got a little bit cut off. But it is a mystical sacred pool that the
Yeah.
hanged one is hovering over.
Yeah. So I know Justin loves the Hanged Man, so he does. The Hanged Man is his hero, or the Hanged One, sorry. So Justin, what do you think of this card? Moving on, we've got the Stunning Death card. I honestly, I love it. The butterflies, and Simon, if you're still here, they are butterflies. They're not moths. That's right, isn't it? Yeah,
That's right. They're butterflies. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously, symboling transformation. We appear to have. So what have we got? This kind of earth, these rocks that are kind of forming here.
So basically, the way that I wrote it was that it's this figure who is basically transforming from oops, sorry, I'm having more cat. I think she's getting hungry. Hopefully my husband will feed her soon. She's
Oh, listen, see
transforming.
if you need to feed your cat, like
It's
you just feel
okay.
free to go
She's
about.
just getting keen because she knows it's almost time. She doesn't have any throat chakra issues. You see, she's very comfortable with asserting her needs. So she is transforming from a statue of rock. And you can see that she's actually a little bit translucent. When you actually look at it closely, you can actually see the mountains through her, and she is, transforming into her fullness from being this, cold and hard rock into this fullness of herself. And the butterflies are flying around her and showing that transformation. And that's the sacral chakra and the solar plexus chakra.
Right, okay. It's like a chrysalis, yeah, like a cocoon that she's emerging from. Yeah, totally.
That kind of
Yeah,
idea.
I get
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It seems obvious now, so it does. But yeah, it's amazing, stunning. So we've got temperance. Oh, look at the stunning temperance card, right? So we've got. Okay, so it looks as though we've got. So is this the root in the solar plexus?
That's right. That's the root and the solar plexus. So it's a
Okay, and then
yellow and red.
in red, yeah. So then what's is that supposed to kind of represent the root chakra again?
That's right. And it's also it's in connection with the feet because so the ideas here are that it looks like mystical water, but there's also the association with fire and the association with that kind of alchemical process of creating new energy and transmuting that energy, so that you can be both free and grounded at the same time. Because you can see Temperance is floating up above the ground, but that red jewel at the ground, you know, the root, again, it's all about being grounded. And so it combines all of those ideas together. And I see a question about cardstock. For the prototype, the cardstock is slightly lower GSM than the final deck will be. The final deck will be 350 GSM and matte. This is matte finish, and it will also have matte finish.
Okay, brilliant. The Devil. This was one of the cards that I showed last week, so it was, when I was showing a couple of previews. And we had to look at this one quite closely. So we did.
Oh, yeah.
But so I think what we're looking at, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, is we're looking at someone who has their back to us, and they appear to be looking in a mirror, and then we see the kind of, is it like the kind of angel and devil, you know, on either side? Is that what we're looking at?
This can be interpreted in different ways. So there is a sense of because, again, this is about chakra healing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we can actually it's not about being our own worst enemy, but the voices of other people are still informing how we feel about our sexuality, how we feel about our sense of self. And what are we trying to put on? How have we been enslaved to others' opinions or words from the past? And so what you can see here is you see this person who is in front of a 3-paned mirror. Okay. So she is actually just who she is, and perfect. And we can just see, you know, her eyes at the top there. And, you know, she's actually making direct eye contact with us, saying, you know what, just as I am. And yet you can also see the other reflections where it would be so easy for her to only pay attention to the figure, the reflection on the right, where people are pointing and accusing her. They're saying all these, you know, words to her. They have shamed her. They have not believed her. They have dismissed her. They have invalidated her. And she's got all that torment, and you can see the chain around her neck, right? That part of herself, is not a healed aspect of self. And then you can see the person on the left who is, you know, trying really hard. Now there's nothing, now, hey, I'll say this. I used to be a makeup artist. I used to do makeup and hair. I'm all for makeup and hair. I wear makeup every day. Love it. You know, so I'm not making any comments about people who like to wear makeup with the figure on the left, but she is very glamorized. Okay. Where like she's trying so hard to be exactly what she thinks other people feel that she needs to be, that she's trying to fit in some mold that is expected of her. But she also has that chain around her neck, because who is she doing it for? Right? These are the figures that are off to the sides, not the one who's center on. And you know what? Just as she is, you know, she is perfect. So that's the idea of the Devil card. And of course, it still has the idea of the, you know, the kind of 3 characters for people who do want to use the more traditional associations. But that was the thinking behind the design. Yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. And when you explain it, it just, it's like visual poetry, so it is. Okay, so moving on to the tower. Oops, the star obviously wants to come out and play, but it can wait its turn. So we've got the tower here. We appear to have, is that the crown and the root?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. And if you look closely at this tower, I mean, first of all, like, it looks like a pretty stormy place. I wouldn't want to be sitting at the base of that tower in that storm with all that lightning. But if you look closely, there is bright blue sky that you can see through the tower.
Yeah.
So there is always hope that no matter how hard things get, no matter how bad the disruption is, no matter how earth-shattering a trauma has been or an experience has been, there is always hope, and there will be hope, and you will find your way.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I've just now noticed that now that you've pointed that out. But yeah, I love it. Okay. The star. So
So much hope and inspiration in this one. Oh, this is the root and the sacral chakras.
yeah, yeah,
And the interesting one about this is that if you look at what she's wearing, she's wearing a blanket. And because in a lot of star cards, often the figure is naked. So in this case, it's outside, it's night. Sure, it's a mystical place, but we wrapped her in a blanket for her comfort's sake, but also for the sake of, when there are chakra impacts at the root and the sacral, that's often because someone has experienced a lack of safety as it relates to their sexuality, right? Or as it relates to anything that they have created or to childbirth. And so to me, it felt important that she actually needed to be wrapped up in a safe, warm blanket, because to me, that felt like that would create more of a sense of safety and gentleness for people working with those chakra issues with the card.
got you. It takes away that kind of vulnerability, doesn't it? Just like kind of slightly,
Exactly.
gently. Again, that word gently. It just gently kind of eases that feeling of vulnerability. Yeah,
That's right.
no, I love it. We've got our moon card here, and can I just say that that moon is absolutely stunning. The moon itself, like you probably heard me saying before, like I'm an absolute sucker. There's certain things that I love to see done really well. The moon is one, the sun is another, water, trees. There's just certain things that when they're done right, they just really kind of click with me. And that moon is just I'm trying to hold it up so you can all see it, but that moon behind them is absolutely stunning. So it is.
Yes, I love how Ella created like even just the moon itself. I mean, obviously I love the whole card, but that moon, I was mesmerized. Like the figure is supposed to look a bit mesmerized, but when I was mesmerized when I saw the draft. This is also related to root and sacral
Yeah,
chakras, and the fire, the sacred fire, that's something that's not always like that's not too common when it comes to Rider-Waite-Smith decks. But the thinking behind that is that often when we're going through that night of the soul, or and some of the traditional ideas of the creature that comes out of the water in the traditional moon card, that there are actually crosswalks between that and the idea of deities who have sacrificed themselves, and they've gone through a difficult path. And so the fire gets at the idea that when we're doing this healing work, there are times when it's actually cathartic, right? Even when we're in the midst, and for anyone who's healed through some really difficult stuff or done a lot of emotional work, we know that it's not always, it doesn't always feel great. There are times when it just feels gross. It feels really hard. And those moments are the very moments where we need to just gently keep ourselves steady and keep getting through that healing work. And that catharsis helps to heal us so that we do find our way. So that was the
yeah,
thinking in incorporating the sacred fire and the moon.
that's fine. Oh, amazing. And from my point of view, for me, moon energy it's that kind of like unfamiliarity. It's you're in moon energy when you're like, what the shit is going on here? Like I just don't have a this doesn't feel right to me at all. It's like going against the grain, it's that feeling. And see when you think about the four elements in the rawest forms, fire is probably the one that, well, I know that I interact with the least, but probably most of us as humans interact with the least. So fire is that, if there's one of the elements that has that kind of unfamiliarity about it, and that kind of, I really need to be careful what I'm doing here, it's going to
Yeah.
be fire. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, just from that kind of very basic point of view, I think fire really works in Moon,
Yeah.
on the Moon card really well. So yeah, Robin says it looks like this deck took a long time to prepare. How long has it been worked on?
Yes. So I started doing the work on the concept and visioning what this was going to look like, and doing all the research on the chakra correspondences in so that was, I guess that was about 20 months ago that I started that work. And so it took several months to do all of that work to establish the vision, create the system behind it, because I had to create the system before I could create any of the descriptions, right? So I created the system of assigning the chakras to each of the cards. And from there, I then began to think about what are the things that are important to me. And we spoke earlier, for example, about gender and sexual identity in the deck, for example. And then thought, okay, well, what do I actually want this to look like? What do I want this kingdom or these kingdoms to look like? And then I was finally able to actually begin writing the descriptions. And so that whole process went from it was late May of 2019 right through to I think it was November of 2019 when I was done writing the descriptions, and then I began the process of finding an artist. So that took a few weeks, but I met with Ella in the before time, in I think it was mid-January of 2020. Little did we know that when we could actually still meet for coffee, and it was wonderful. But so I
when
think
we all thought, oh, what's this? Have you heard about this new flu thing?
I know, I know. And she and I still laugh that I ordered. Okay, so it's a tarot deck, but I really like tarot, like the root, the purple root, and completely. I mean, I actually liked the purple root as a small child before I knew about tarot. So I guess, the purple root is my first love. But anyway, I had a tarot flavored latte while we were talking about my tarot deck. And so we still giggle about that because I didn't do it on purpose. I was just so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, this place makes tarot lattes. Yay, it's purple. So sorry, I could be a little bit dorky, but it's who I am. So anyway.
You're in good company.
Thank you. One of my good friends, he owns a local shop here in Toronto called the Hermit's Lamp. He says that what, we need to embrace being magnificent weirdos, and I love that. So here you go, magnificent weirdo. And anyway, so then by the time I think that we signed the contract, and Ella took me on as a client, I think that was late January or early February. So I've been working with Ella for a year. Ella finished the art in 2020. So she actually finished these 78 pieces of art. Plus, I was not her only client. Ella has done, really amazing work this year. And so she finished all of that art within 2020. And then since then, it's been, getting ready for the crowdfunding, having the prototype printed, and all the other myriad logistics and all the everything that goes into creating a deck. So it has been about 20 months now.
Yeah,
that's a very long answer to your question there.
Okay. The Sun card. So the Sun, I think again we've got the root and sacral.
That's right. Yeah. And again, it's a little hard to see in the light, but that's the Sun actually takes up the entire almost bottom half of the page, and it's glowing up into the clouds.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Stunning. Yeah. Stunning Sun card. We've got Judgment here. Okay, I'm interested in this one. So there's quite a lot to digest in this card, I think. So first of all, we've got this crown floating above the character. So tell me about that.
So, the idea of the Judgment card here, with almost being at the point of the world, right? We're almost there, and the healing that has taken place as it relates to the root chakra and the sacral chakra, it's at that point of almost being returned to yourself, right? Because who you are is sacred and majestic. And so we see this figure who has come all this way, has made all this progress on their healing journey, and now they are fully being returned to themselves, but they're also recognizing it, because sometimes we can actually even be more healed than we may think that we are, but we haven't had that aha moment of recognizing, oh wow, look how far I've actually come. You know, that moment of reflection of, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so that's what our figure is experiencing here. And so the idea of the crown almost being lowered to the figure's head gets at that idea.
Yeah, right. I see. Okay. In the background, is this graves, or is this something different altogether that we've got behind?
No, that's just the decorative temple grounds.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, stunning. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I've got you.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okie dokes, right. And then obviously again we've covered the world because that was one of the ones with all chakras. So that is the majors. They've been going for a good hour and a half. So I think what we'll do is we'll look at the 4 aces and the 4 twos together if you're good with that.
Absolutely.
So let's see, let me just get my aces ready then. What I'll maybe do is I'll make myself 4 piles here. You don't really need to know all this. I've got verbal diarrhea. Ace of chalices. So again, I'm kind of seeing the pattern here. The aces, kind of like the fool, we're looking at we're dealing with the crown chakras, and again, I'm taking it, it's that kind of that idea of the new beginning, this kind of manifestation out of the collective unconscious, out of the crown chakra.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Perfect.
And it's actually great to show it this way because it's also a great introduction to each of the kingdoms, right? So you can see here on the left that the Ace of Wands is just about to embark into the sacred caves of that sacred mountain. And I mean, can we just take a moment to gawk over the glowing crystals? Like,
Yeah.
I would love to go and find this mystical cave with the glowing crystals. Just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so and then you can see that the chakra is held above her head with the headpiece.
Amazing. Stunning. And then in the Ace of Chalices, we've obviously got the kind of Kingdom of Water, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Hooks. Swords, we're
Yep.
up in the clouds. And then in the Pentacles, we're in this kind of garden-like kingdom, is that right?
That's right. It's a forest. And again, like when I'm actually, holding these in my hand, and you can actually see like the glowing kind of details that show, and the gradients of the clouds and the sky and the trees, and the water actually looks like it shimmers. The intent is to create something, very very magical.
Definitely. I think that's definitely been achieved here. So moving on to the 4 twos. Oh, that's not the 2. That's a bit tricky.
And again, for the dark, the 2 of Wands, the dark colors have been brightened for the final one. So sorry that they're a little hard to see, folks. But as everyone has reminded me, this is the point of a prototype so that you can see what it's like. So here's the 2 of Wands. The 2s are associated with the third eye chakra.
Third eye chakra, right? Okay. Excellent. So so we're kind of we've kind of stepped into the cave here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
That's right. And then there's that wand floating ahead of the person, and they have to decide what do they want.
Yeah. Okay. 2 of chalices.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. It's always nice to see a 2 of cups where it's not like, it's not the standard 2 of cups. We've got our 2 of swords here. We can see that, there's a decision to be made, but it's not quite as painful as what we normally associate the Two of Swords as can sometimes come across as being. We've not got someone who's blindfolded and who's ready to chop their head off with, do you know what I mean, if they're not careful. So yeah, no, absolutely stunning. But we can quite clearly see that the person is deep in contemplation. There is a choice that has to be made here.
Yes.
And our Two of Pentacles. I need to remember that this isn't just me just looking and admiring the cards. I'm actually, we're actually doing something here. Right, okay. On to the sea. So you can obviously just stop me if there's a particular thing you want to kind of hone in on.
Oh, for sure. And so again, some of these really dark, they will be brighter for the final deck. And another aspect of that I'll pause on here as well that was important for creating this deck is that you will notice that people aren't all, they don't all have one body type, and they don't all have the same skin tone or hair color or hair type. Those are also all different. So I just wanted to point that out so that, when you're actually looking at them close up, it's really clear that we have lots of different people lots of lovely figures who show up in this deck, and each and every one of them is really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so those are your threes.
Yeah, amazing. And can I just again, just from my own point of view, point out the progression from even if we take the ace, there's the idea of kind of you're at the start of this cave, you're about to step into it, you're seeing the potential, you're seeing all of these amazing crystals. You've got the two where you've kind of you're taking that first step in. You've still got some stuff to reach for, you've got your aspirations. Then we've got the three, so you've got your three wands, and now you're looking at, right, what am I doing with them? It's time to actually make shit happen. Sorry, I swear a lot, Malumir. So
no. Oh, don't worry. No, don't worry. I used to live in small town Ontario, and I was working for mostly it was frontline customer service jobs to make ends meet and pay the bills, and it was a manufacturing town, and so you can take the girl out of Alliston, but you can't necessarily take Alliston out of the girl, and I love that about myself. So I'm not at all put off by salty language.
Right, I'm not again. I keep just wanting to take to the wands.
Maybe the universe is trying to tell you something there, Chris.
I know. These are the colours are starting to get a bit lighter here, so we can kind of see is Four of Swords there. We can start to really kind of that I take it that was the kind of the intention. That there's nothing that needs to be lightened or darkened, and that.
And even the shades of colors do vary with the cards, because as you'll see, some of the minors, there are multiple numbers that have the same chakra, and so they'll have slightly different shades. So you'll notice that as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, stunning. I love them. I love them all. Even Four of Pentacles. There's no miser here. This isn't a stingy wee shite who doesn't want anyone to touch their pentacles. This person is comfortable and at home and secure in their material environment. Love it.
That's exactly it.
Okay, on to the fives. So this is what you were just talking about, where we're kind of honing in on the heart chakra again here. Obviously, whereas the fours, kind of, I don't know how much kind of numerology you work with, but for me, fours are a kind of stable number, and fives are when we change things up a bit and we kind of get the carpet pulled out from under us a wee bit.
100%.
Yeah. So if I can just kind of show you the difference here. So this is what Malumir was talking about, where we see the kind of shades changing a bit. See how in the Four of Cups we're seeing this lovely kind of light lime green color of water, and the Five of I'm saying cups, sorry, chalices, and the Five of chalices, the kind of the colors have darkened a wee bit. Things have got a bit darker. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the shades do change absolutely from that perspective, and you can even see like the mood change from the fours to the fives when you look at them
Yeah.
across like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I'm just looking at this fact. I really see it's funny because wands isn't normally a suit that I really connect with that strongly, but the wand suit is just I'm loving it, you know. Um, so I'm just looking at what's happening here because I'm really enjoying how we can kind of see some of the sky. Is that
Mm-hmm.
am I right in that? Yeah.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, you can.
So we're within this cave, but we're able to see out the top of it. Is that the concept here?
Yeah, and so the idea there that even when things are shifting and changing, even when there's some of that inner conflict, because especially when we're working on heart chakra stuff, it can feel like things are really shifting because you're changing up energy that's been stagnant and hanging out there for dear life for possibly years or decades, right? And so when you start making those changes, you can start to see the light. You can start to see that, okay, I'm going to find my way, but it still feels uncertain. There's still that kind of darkness. There's still the things aren't quite aligned, right? And that's why you can see the wands are going at different angles. But there's also the sense of she's going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great. Okay, let's move on to the sixes. Doing it again. 6 wands, 6 of swords, 6 of pentacles. So we've moved down to the solar plexus chakra here.
That's right.
So we're starting to look at that kind of that sense of identity and individuality. Yeah, so that's right. That's solar plexus.
That's right. You got it.
You've not only have you achieved stuff, but you've navigated this instability in the five, and you've managed to kind of get your way back to harmony.
Exactly.
So you've really kind of proven yourself with the six there, and that's really kind of shining through with the lovely solar plexus chakra.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, amazing.
So in the wand, you can see the elder there who, kind of getting at that leadership aspect. And I mean, also that would be an amazing place to sit with an elder in a cave with glowing crystals. And if you look closely at the chalices, it's actually a little family of sea creatures who are in the pool of water that she's connecting with there.
Oh yeah, right enough. So it is. It's amazing. I love the water, the waterfalls and
right. And again, the water looks like it's sparkling.
yeah, it's amazing. Okay, the hooks. Okay, we'll move on to the sevens. Thank you. Just got my cup of tea delivered there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my tea is very cold at this point, but it's there.
Yeah, listen, that always happens to me. Guaranteed it's going to happen with this one. I'm going to take a sip of it just now, probably burn myself a wee bit, and then I'll come back to it when it's freezing cold. I do the same thing all the time.
I'm exactly the same. I constantly leave, like I'll start making tea and then I'll forget that I was making tea. And then my husband will be like, hey, you were making tea. I'll be like, oh no, that was half an hour ago.
I'm total same, and I take my tea really, really strong. Like I could leave my tea to stew for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you can hold a knife in
it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So no, I'm terrible for doing that as well.
But that's exactly why I forget about it, because I like to leave the tea bag in there for a while. Like not like my grandma. So my grandma, she lived in the Highlands for a bit, but mostly she lived in East Kilbride and Paisley for quite a long time. And when she came to visit, she would dip her tea bag 1, 2 out. And there was one time she dipped 3 times and was horrified because now it was too strong. Meanwhile, I need my bag to sit in there for quite a while. And so she always laughed that it was like I could stick a knife into my tea and it would hold it up.
Yeah. No, she's no drinking tea. That's just
Drinking colored
that's
water.
yeah, hot water not stupid is what I like to say. Right. So we've got our 7s in front of us now. We've moved down to the sacral chakra.
That's
Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Good.
And if you look closely at the 7 of Wands, and I'm not sure if it'll work for the camera, but you can actually see there's 6 other people in the background, the background there. And, and look, if you look at her face and you look at their face, it's a little bit like, ooh, what's going on here? And again, comes back to that. Sometimes we do kind of need to stand on our own and in our own sense of creation and creativity, and even when it comes to the expectations that are placed on us about our sexuality, sometimes we need to go our own way. So that's what that one is at.
Absolutely. And you really can, like, I'm hoping that you are able to see this. I think you can, because I can see it through the screen, but it's almost like you're getting this idea that those 6 are kind of getting together and they're talking about her, and she's kind of looking back, but it's as if she's kind of coming into this like, do you know what? I don't give 2 fucks what you all say about me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like that. You're really getting that kind of, coming into your own power and standing your ground kind of thing.
Yeah, amazing. Exactly.
Yeah. 7 of Swords is always one that I like to touch on, so it is. So tell me about the 7 of Swords. What does this, how do you read the 7 of Swords? What does it mean to you?
So, I mean, 7s in general, I mean, there is that sense of, so let's start, with the 5s, there's that kind of sense of instability, and then you find the harmony in the 6s, but then you come to the 7s and there's that sense of, okay, I had found a balance, but now that I've got this balance, I actually need to keep growing and I still need to shift a bit. So things might feel still a little bit unstable. There are decisions that have to be made. And often these decisions mean that we may need to leave something behind, or we may need to decide, what do I own? What do I take with me? Or what have I carried with me that wasn't actually mine to begin with? And a lot of the times, particularly as it relates to our sexuality and our belief in ourselves for what we can create for ourselves, that is so often tied up in what other people have dropped on us or given us. And these have not necessarily been good gifts. And so that's what we're kind of getting here, where she's got this winding path and it's been so unstable, but are these still her things that she needs to carry? If they are, great, but she's going to have to make a decision about that and how she wants to continue on her journey.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Yeah, really, really kind of a time to stop and assess, really think about what you're doing. And the 7 of Swords is like a brainstorming card for me. I think it's like you say, it's that kind of growing from a stable place. It's like taking you outside your comfort zone, but it's like an outside our comfort zone that we all need. And when you're getting into the mind, it's like really thinking about, for me, is there a different way that I can approach this task? Is there a different way that I can do this? Rather than just headbutting the wall head on, is there a way that I can kind of get around it? Or yeah, no, absolutely.
Exactly.
Stunning. Amazing. Okay, so moving on to the 8s.
And so again, sorry that the 8 of Wands is so dark, folks. So the cave behind the figure in the 8 of Wands has been lightened up just a bit. But not the figure himself, because his skin is dark, and so it's just the background that has been brightened up so that we can make out the figure better.
So let me just see if I can hone right in here.
It's focusing on the 8 of Pentacles. There you go.
Perfect.
And if you look at the focus on that figure's face, and the speed and the velocity at which this figure is running.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right enough. He's trailblazing is what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
A lot of energy behind that one.
Yeah. He's making the way through that cave, that kind of kingdom of the cave for people to follow, you know. Not
Yep.
just creating the stability for himself, but he's creating it for others to follow in his footsteps.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. So again, in our Eight of Chalices, you know, we get this idea of creating the path, but it's like, I don't know how you tend. The Eight of Cups sometimes has a tendency to be like, oh, walking away from something, and then and that's kind of it. But like, and it's like it almost feels like sometimes it feels like an odd one out when you think about the message of the eights. You know, whether you look at it as stability or whether you look at it as fast movement or whether you look at it as a combination of both of those things, the Eight of Cups always feels a wee bit, you know, where does that come from? But for me, the Eight of Cups is like, if you think about how secure you have to be in your emotions to make
Yes.
that decision to walk away. Now, this walking away, we don't know whether that person's going off on, you know, going off on a year's sabbatical somewhere, and what are they leaving behind, you know? But think of how secure they have to be in themselves to make that decision and to take those kind of first steps. So you get the idea of the movement, but you get the idea of the stability, and I can really pull that from this card. Like you can see the cups are kind of leading, like trailing behind. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And also a sense of sometimes it might feel like leaving, but is it actually just a return to self? Right?
Yeah,
Because this figure is walking on the water, right? You notice they're not sinking into the water, they're walking on the water with absolute confidence because they are gaining that sense of this is who I am and this is the path that I'm walking. And you know, I'm also showing you the way that I've gone so that like you said, so that others can see, right? These journeys that we have, we're always, even though we don't realize that we're impacting other people, we are always having an influence on other people. And so when we return to ourselves, can you imagine the healing impact that that can have to those who are around you when they see you step into your healed self?
yeah, amazing. Justin says the Eight of Swords is his card for February. Now, can I just point out in this Eight of Swords how amazing is it to see? I don't think I've ever seen a card where the person is actually taking action, where they're, you know, we usually see this person who's like feeling very trapped, and it's like you can tell that the person hasn't quite worked out how they remove themselves from the situation yet, you know. This person, you can see it, it's happening, you know, the problem solving, the action, you know. You can see that they're kind of thinking about, and they're starting to make changes and, you know, to remove themselves from that situation. So that it's a really simple thing, but it's so powerful and so nice to see.
Yes, it was very important to me when I was writing. So the description actually, how it's written is it shows that the person is, they look like they're struggling with the swords, but they are actively engaging with the swords, as you say, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, this is a healing deck. The intention is for people to be able to find healing in this and empowerment. And so this is not someone who I wanted to be tied up as we, you know, often see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an empowering card, and I mean, it works for me that they look like they're struggling with them because do you know what? See, when you first tackle, when you're in that Eight of Swords, when you know, if you think, think about every tarot card as being like a wee mini story, you know, rather than just a snapshot in time. So if you're at the start of that situation where you are like kind of up in your head, you're feeling trapped, you know, that in order to first engage with that situation, it's going to have to be a struggle. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have to kind of test the waters first before you can really like, right, okay, I'm quite confident and I know what I'm doing here, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it works. It's amazing. And Eight of Pentacles is lovely too, you know, where you obviously kind of get the kind of standard feel of, you know, this person's working on these pentacles, and it's really, it's almost got to, she's so good at it and she's so stable that it's almost effortless for her now. Do you know what I mean? It's a
Exactly.
machine. Um, Justin says you need to do this type of thing more. I want to see more deck creators on your channel. I
There
know
we go.
This has
Started
been
a trend, Chris.
amazing. It's been it's such a privilege for me to have you on here, honestly. Like I'm just so I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like a kid at Christmas, do you know what I mean? It's like I'm not just am I getting to geek out on a tarot deck, but I'm actually getting to geek out with the person who, with the mind behind it. Anyway, amazing. Okay, so we've got our nines here.
So for the nines, we travel down to the root chakra. So if and again, it's a bit dark, but the Nine of Wands, the figure is standing on one side of, it's actually quite a cavern between where they are and where that door is. And there are these, and I'm just describing it because it's a little hard to see, but there are these floating stones. There are these 9 stones that are floating there. And the thought and the precision that and the thoughtfulness that goes into how do I get to that next step? Like, I have been on this journey, and when you're first starting to work with the root chakra, there is that sense of okay, now we're really getting into some of these details, right? We're getting into what can also feel like defensiveness and fear. Like, can you imagine being this figure on one side of this deep cavern where it looks like there's lava below and there are these floating rocks and you're supposed to get to the other side? Like that's quite a journey. And yet the journey is also almost complete, right? There is that sense of the cycle completing. And so all of those ideas are encapsulated in this 9 of Wands.
Yeah, yeah. And the lava really works for me. The Nine of Wands it's a high passion, high fire energy type card. So you really can pull that from the raw kind of, the rock is just forming. It's you really get that kind of heat from the card. It's absolutely stunning. We've got our lovely 9 of Chalices here.
This person, oh my goodness, when I was writing this description, I the way that I wrote it, I was that, this figure is floating on a mystical lake at night. And so you can actually see the stars reflecting on the water above her.
Yeah. So you can, it's amazing.
Right? Like truly just that willingness to go there emotionally, and be vulnerable with yourself, but to also find that sense of freedom, right? Because she's floating in the water under that magical sky at night, and that finally finding that sense of comfort and being at home within herself, despite all the vulnerabilities that she's experienced, and now she's finding that freedom.
Yeah, the stars reflecting in the water is, that's a really nice touch. I love that because it's like, the stars generally we think of them as representing all our hopes and dreams and everything that we aspire to, but that is actually reflected in this person's water kingdom and their emotions, and their sense of self. So to have all of your hopes and dreams reflected in your very own self is,
Exactly.
stunning. The 9 of Swords, it's amazing because, like, you've managed to capture, like, if you're a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith reader, right, and you're very much like, I like my 9 of Swords to have that traditional 9 of Swords. I like to see that toil, that struggle. We get that. Like, see if I can hold this up, if you can look at this person's face,
Her face.
that the high air, the high mental energy here is absolutely real. And you know that I like to kind of look at the positives and negatives, and how I talk about the 9 of Swords can be a very, very positive card. If you can take that high mental energy and channel that, look what you can achieve. Look, she's almost there. She's almost at this kind of, this, what can I call it? Nirvana, this kind of feeling of completion of the mind, this kingdom in the sky. We've got the rainbow here, the swords are leading the way, She just needs to kind of channel that intellect, that mental energy in an appropriate way and kind of follow the path that she's already created for herself. So sorry, I'm
That's
talking away. I'm just talking away about my
no,
impressions, and I'm
no,
not even like.
but you described exactly what that was exactly the thought process when I wrote it, because like I was very specific about which direction people are facing, for example, and their body position and the expression on their face. And so that is you perfectly captured what I was trying to get across, which is always so lovely.
Yeah,
As a creatrix is like, okay, yes, okay. So, the goal that I have is coming across. So I'm so happy to hear that.
yeah, no, absolutely. And then we've got our lovely Nine of Pentacles. And again, we just get this kind of, this stability and power. Power, like she's, you would not mess with this person, not on your life. Do you know what I mean? But she's so established and so secure, that root chakra is really kind of, she's achieved that stability. That's how I view it as well. We've got the real kind of path made. You can see the way through the forest. We've got the trees on either side, but you've got this path that's been made through, and you can see where she's come from, or where she's going, whatever way you want to look at it. But
Exactly.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah, you captured it perfectly. That was all the intention to capture in that. And yet, she's that grounded and that confident, and you wouldn't mess with her, but there's nothing about her that is at all negative, right? She just is.
Yeah,
She's so
yeah,
confident, so
absolutely.
grounded. She knows what
Mm.
she's been through, and she knows that she has achieved that for herself.
Yeah,
And she knows that no one can take that from her.
I love it. So let's move to our tens.
So again, another card that's super dark that will be brightened. And here you can also see, because remember how I was saying that the different numbered cards that have the same chakra association, that the shades are a little bit different. So this is an example, right? Where the reds here are a bit different from the reds in the nines.
Yeah,
Yeah. So because it's also root chakra.
yeah. Okay. So 10 of Wands, I mean, so the traditional 10 of Wands, like from the Rider-Waite-Smith system, which I'm getting here. I mean, for me, it's like it's what happens when you don't accept the change. Tens are, for me, it's like the renewal of the cycle. It's the kind of, it's when the change happens. You've completed one thing and you're moving on to another, and it's that kind of, it's that kind of between the two. It's the line that you draw to connect the two things, right? The Ten of Wands, what we traditionally see in the Ten of Wands, is what happens when you don't accept that change. Now, for me, wands are about, it's your passion. It's the thing that really makes you who you are, that defines you. Do you know what I mean? That wands it's when you found your reason that you've been put in this earth. That's how you feel when you're in that wands energy. Do you know what I mean? It's like your raison d'etre. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's supposed to be difficult to put that down, So if I can use the very basic example of, like, if you're a career person, if your life is your work, I'll use like a lawyer, for example. You're a lawyer, like that's their everything, If you look at some of the barristers, they work long hours, they're kind of researching into the night, they're at court all day, they barely get enough time to sleep, never mind have a life, but that's their life, that's what they love, and that's their reason for being. Imagine coming to the end of your career and having to retire, and having to put all that down. And it's like, I don't want to put it down. That's how I've found my passion, But we all come to that point where we have to kind of hand that over. And what this looks to me is like, this person's coming towards this door, which to me would represent the change, but it's almost like, the way they're holding the wands, it's like they're protecting themselves with the wands from the change. That's just how that reads to me. So it is.
And also it's a bit difficult to see in the light, but just to give a bit of a description, it's a very dark spiral staircase that the person has been walking
Oh
up. And
yeah.
if you
Yeah,
actually,
right enough.
the expression on their face holds so much of what Chris was just describing, as well as that almost like tentative and tired and almost careful sense of okay, what is on the other side of that door? But if you also look at the wands there, there's still, this person still has a lot of power in this decision, right? In this choice point, this person has a lot of power because those wands aren't just sitting on top of each other. They're actually floating very intentionally in this person's arms, above this person's arms. And so, you know, there is all of that, kind of that integrates together between their expression and, you know, having come through up from the depths of that cavern where they're approaching this door.
Yeah, amazing. I didn't notice the stare until you pointed it out, but I can really see it now.
And
See, that's
it will
another
be
benefit to doing this is like it highlights so much stuff that otherwise I either wouldn't have noticed or it would have taken me a long time to notice. You know, 10 of Cups. You know, look at the joy, look at the glee that you can really get from this card.
And the northern lights above them.
Yeah, is that the Ouroboros? Is that right? Is that what it's called?
Borealis, yeah.
Oh yeah, Ouroboros is the snake.
Or the northern lights.
Yeah.
And you know, the northern lights, they also have a lot of you know, personal significance to me as well. But I see we're almost getting a time, so I'll leave that anecdote for another time, perhaps.
Sorry, I should have said to you before, but you know, just let me know if you're needing to kind of jump off. I'm happy to kind of keep going and get through the rest of the cards. But if you're kind of pressed for time, then
Nope,
you
I'm
can,
good.
you know, you're okay.
It's
right, cool.
not like I have anywhere to physically go, so.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, then we've got our 10 of Swords, and it's always lovely to see we don't have the kind of stabby, you know, through the back. You know, where we see the struggle that the person's been through, but we can see they're kind of they're in the middle of kind of what looks to me to be getting back up
That's
and kind of
exactly
moving
it.
on.
That's exactly it. It's a struggle, but they are in the midst of standing back up. And when you actually see it in person, you can see like their one of their legs is kind of up, so they are getting some leverage.
Yeah. And then the 10 of Pentacles.
Isn't that a secret garden you'd love to find?
I know. The joy and the happiness and just the being at peace, you know, in your material environment. It's lovely. The Oaks. And if we had more time, I think it'd be really nice to kind of lay out, you know, all of the pentacles and really see the journey, because like if I can just these three,
Yeah.
for example, right? Like you can see that there is a journey there. And again, that's something that's always really stunning to see. You know, the progression. Okay, so we've got the courts left.
Yes.
Let me move these away just now. Okay, so pages, and again, like the ace, like the fool. No.
So
What was,
it's the aces and the pages. They both have the
yeah,
crown chakra. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Why was I thinking the fool? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Doesn't matter.
there's that idea of the fool and, you know, the before the beginning, right? Because really
Yeah,
fools are, the fool is before the beginning, when it
yeah,
is absolutely all possibility.
yeah.
So again, some of the darker shades will be bright in here. The way that I wrote the pages was very specific that these folks are represented as non-binary. So when you do look closely, it does become clear that is the way that they have been represented.
Yeah. And just maybe hone in on some of the. So our lovely page of pentacles here.
There we go. Yeah.
However you can see that. Never mind the page of wands. Can you see it a bit better now?
Yeah, it is focusing now. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And you've got, rather than the fish, you've got a seahorse coming out the cup here. That's nice. That's quite
Yep.
cute.
Yeah.
Page of Cups is the card that I identify with the most, I think. I think I identify with most of them at some point in time, but Page of Cups is probably my, you know, my one that I relate to the most.
Well, and that is the amazing and powerful thing about the tarot, is that we actually hold all of those archetypes. We actually hold the entire tarot within ourselves, right? We can and have experienced all these different archetypes and feelings, and that is exactly how powerful it is in being that kind of medium for us to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these are our knights. So they're all solar plexus, the yellow one.
Yeah. So we're back to that sense of identity, yeah.
Yes, that's
And
right. And confidence.
purpose, I suppose, would purpose be something that you would associate to the solar plexus chakra, or am I getting?
Yes, absolutely. Because purpose is one of those things that is so personal and tied to sense of self and identity, which is all solar plexus. So yes, and you can really feel, even though the energy behind each of these knights is very different, there is that sense of purpose that comes across with each of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. We've got our queens. And our queens will have moved to the third eye, yeah?
That's right. And because the color is a bit dark, for the Queen of Wands, you may not be able to see it, but she also has, she's petting a cat on her, in her right hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that will be a little bit more visible in the final deck and has been corrected. But and I mean, just I like her expression and that kind of connectivity with and the idea of the queens and the kind of femme energy held within the queens is associated with the third eye chakra to really resonate with that intuitive kind of sense, right? Or in the from a Kabbalistic perspective, it's the Binah kind of or the more like the dark goddess type of energy, and that kind of inner knowing that when you've reached this point and you just know there's no one who can take that from you, right? You've achieved that level of connection with yourself, and that knowing that is just so powerful, but without having to try to be powerful. These queens just are.
Yeah. Yeah, stunning. It's the Queen of Swords always kind of reminds me of our Jelly from Little Zen Crone. So I know that she would love this card. And then we've got our Queen of Pentacles. One of the an analogy that I quite like between thinking about the kings and the queens of tarot and comparing them to the kings and the queens in chess. So see, when you think about the kings and queens, a lot of us do get kind of mixed up. We're like, I'm not really sure what the difference is. What's going on there. And you you can relate queens to like that Empress nurturing type energy, and the kings are more like the kind of bringing order, the social responsibility aspect. But one thing that I quite like, if you think about like the influence that a queen has versus the influence that a king has,
Exactly.
see
Precisely.
if you give out if you're like got your king hat on or your king crown on and you're giving out orders, you're saying, right, this is what I want you to do and this is how I want you to do it, then you're going to get your thing done, and that's pretty cool. That's all good. The queen nurtures. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't just tell you what you have to do. She teaches you. Do you know what I mean? And she kind of encourages you. She inspires you, and that has a knock-on effect. You know what I mean? When you're the queen isn't just kind of giving out orders; she's creating a leader. You know, someone who can then go on to lead others to do the same thing. And it's, if you think about how that links to chess and how the queen can basically move in the same directions as the king, but she can move all the way forward and all. You know, she can basically do it as far as she wants. It really kind of is a nice analogy between the reach that a queen has versus the reach that a king has. So sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, it's all good.
So that leaves up with our lovely kings.
Yes, and the throat chakra, and again with the kings, and something I guess that I'll just come back to with the deck and talking and thinking about diversity is that you know, there are some characters in the deck that, you know, may or may not appear like definitely, you know, female or definitely male. But again, you know, I would encourage folks to just you know, to see what you see in the characters, because you know, I was very specific about how to be inclusive when it comes to gender in the deck, but also, you know, as the kind of throat chakra has been assigned to the kings, how we express our sense of authority, right? And that sense of how you get things done, that can look very different for different people, right? And different personalities and different experiences. And so so that does come through here with these kings.
Yeah, definitely. And I do really, I love the, you know, the kind of playing about with the gender roles. So if you look at our King of Cup, I keep saying cups, King of Chalices. You know, we have the gender is definitely not absolutely clear when you first look at it. I would kind of look at that and think that looks more of a kind of feminine king than a masculine king. So I always do really appreciate when we see that, you know, that kind of that diversity, not just in gender, but the gender roles. You know, when you're taking those roles um, and making things a bit different.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the cards. That's my baby.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, it
That is.
really has felt like birthing this deck into the world. And so so you've got my baby on your desk there, Chris.
Well, I mean, what time are we on? We're on 11:15 for me anyway. Why don't we? Why don't I give these a quick shuffle and we can just pull a wee card as a message for everyone to kind of, you know, for the weekend or for the rest of the day. But whilst I'm shuffling, if I can encourage everyone to go to the description of this video, I think I've been quite particular to put all of the kind of links that, you know, that are important. So we've got links to, and can I just say, if, you know, for those of you that were kind of admiring the, can you show the full again quickly? Since it's you, Elaine, yeah. What was I going to say there? The Yeah, for those of you that were admiring the art style and the asking about the artistic process on Malumir's YouTube channel, there are kind of just quick videos that it shows you the cards being coloured. Essentially, is that right?
Yeah, they're time lapse videos so for some of the cards, Ella recorded the coloring process, and so you can actually go on there and see the time lapse video of the some of the cards being colored in. And there's also the link to the newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed, it would be great to go and subscribe, because every week I've been sending out sneak peeks to subscribers, so they actually get to see it before it goes to social media. And plus, I'm going to be announcing the crowdfunding date this coming week. So if you get on the subscriber list, then you'll be among the first to hear about it before it actually hits social media. So definitely encourage you to sign up for that.
Definitely do it all. I couldn't show the full without showing the world as well, Elaine. So you can kind of see I think it's the same character. We see this kind of repeating of the volcano that's erupting with the kind of 7 colours of the chakra in the background. Yeah, absolutely stunning. Yeah, I'll give these a shuffle just now. So yeah, I just thank you so much. I've said this, but thank you so much for coming on and for doing this with me. It has been I can't express enough how much of a privilege it has been for me, and I'm sure for everyone else who's here, to have you here to kind of talk us through this, and take us, this, like you just said, that this is your baby we've had on the table, and we've all been kind of looking at and dissecting and stuff. So thank you so much for taking the time, and yeah, I so appreciate it.
Oh, I'm just so happy to be here and to have the opportunity to talk about this. This project has been so close to my heart, and it really it is my heart. And so it's been such a privilege. Thank you so much for having me on here and letting me get to talk about this deck and all of the the love that and the thought and all the healing that I hope will be available to people through it. So thank you so much. And it's been so much fun to also get to talk about the deck and some of the process that went into it and the thinking and all that. It's been really lovely.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And another thing as well, it's always so nice to be able to talk to one of our community members who who isn't as kind of face to face active. We don't really tend to see you as much as what we, as people who are everybody's probably sick of my face. So it's been so nice to just kind of be able to sit and have a chat with you. And I'm sure I'd speak for everyone here who, when I say, it's just so nice to kind of get to know you, kind of that bit more.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you don't mind that I'm raffle shuffling your baby, by the way. I know some people are.
No. Do you got to do? And actually, on that note, I saw a question earlier about what kind of matte finish it will be. It will be the smooth matte as opposed to the rose petal. Because I saw that question earlier and then I forgot to answer it. So yes.
Right, I think that was from Mendy, wasn't it?
I think so, yes.
Cool. Okay. We should be, I like my 7 riffle shuffles to randomise. We should be just about there. Oops. Oh, they're all falling out left, right and centre now. See, I can't read jumpers really because I would be reading 50% of the deck if I did that. I was talking. I've kind of get together with my friends on a Sunday and we kind of sling cards together. And someone had said, who was it, Mendy? I can't remember, but somebody said, when I get jumpers, for me that means it's not to be read. It's not meant to be in the deck. So I just put it to the side, and I was like, "Oh, mate, honestly, see if I did that, I'd end up with a deck like this to do a spread with. I'd have a couple of cards, and the rest would be non-usable. So I was like, I can't do that. I just pick them up and put them back in.
I read jumpers if it's only 1 or 2 cards, but I mean, if I have accidentally dumped a quarter of the deck, then yeah, I just put them back and try again. Yeah. That was being clumsy.
I have literally just thrown about 25% of the deck all over the place. Oh, honestly. I'll pull a quick card, he says. Oh, dearie me.
Oh, the suspense.
I know. It's
on everybody's mind. Am I right?
Right, okay. So a message for everyone for the rest of the week and for the weekend. We've got our Page of Wands.
Oh,
so let me put it down here. And let's try and get it to focus so that we can we can talk about it. So right away we've got that crown chakra is really kind of energized there. We've got this kind of novelty, we've got this idea of something new emerging out of the collective unconscious. Do you know what I mean? Wands, ideas, I said earlier, Wands is about achieving our purpose and finding that passion and lighting that fire in our belly, but that starts with an idea. You know, it all starts with that spark, with that kind of new thought, like, what if we try this? And that is what the Page of Wands for me is all about. It's all about those ideas. Sometimes they can be a wee bit, they can have too many ideas and they need a wee bit of guidance, you know, to kind of make something out of them. But everything starts with the idea. So pay attention to your new ideas this weekend and for the rest of the week, people, because, you know, those are absolute nuggets of gold there. So they are. And you know, look at this page. Look at how they are kind of embracing their environment. They are. It looks as though they're doing a bit of the splits, which I'm not going to be trying, and I'm not going to encourage anyone to try because I don't want to be responsible for any personal injuries. But yeah, no, just look at the enthusiasm and the power at the same time in this person. So yeah, like those ideas, like make something of them. What about you, Malumir? Have you got anything you want to say about this card?
And so what I will add to that is that especially pay attention to those ideas that come to your mind as they relate to the community around you. And remember that community can look like so many things. And the community that inspires you not only to continue to engage with the community, but also inspires you as a person, and the ideas that come up within your connection to others that really bring you to life, that light you up. You know those moments that I'm talking about. Those, pay attention to those this weekend, particularly because it is the new moon. The new moon has it was, I think, just about 4.25 hours ago. So there is all of that new energy that we are in right now to spark those ideas. And so notice that connection to others, because not only would those around you benefit from that, but that sense of internal, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like that aha. There'll be that moment that you have of aha, and you will notice it, and that is going to come up within this weekend. So pay attention to what you're doing when that happens. There is, as Chris said, an important nugget for you in that.
Amazing. Brilliant. Once again, Malumir, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Now, we are planning on doing another live together. Is that right?
Yes.
So we're going to follow this up. People, I'm not sure if I've actually mentioned this yet. So this might be new information. We're going to follow this up. We're going to do a roundtable reading together. So Malumir's going to come on with me, and we're going to do just what we would normally do with a roundtable reading. I'm going to be reading for Malumir with her own deck.
That's going to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, I know, and equal parts cool. Excited and shitting myself about it. Right. So it's going to be.
Me too.
It's going to be so good. So yeah, I'll kind of keep you posted with when that's happening. We don't have a date set yet, but we'll kind of pencil something in soon for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Exactly. Okie dokie, right, guys, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for all your support. Thank you for keeping the questions coming. It's been really great. Yeah, take care, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. And yeah, Malumir, I'll let you say bye, and then we'll end the stream.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again, Chris, for having me on here. And thank you everyone also for being here and for being interested in this deck and learning all about it. And you know, I mean, it's something that I say a lot, but you know, the tarot community is a really, really special community, right? A community of empaths who just are brave and are courageous, because if you weren't courageous, you wouldn't touch the tarot. Right? Because you know that all of these cards, all of these archetypes, they are a part of you, they're within you. And so the courage that you show to show up for yourself and show up with the tarot and to be an empath in this world, I'm so grateful for all of you. And I'm so grateful to be part of this community. So thank you so much again, Chris, for having me on.
Not at all. Thank you so much. Right, everyone, we will love you and leave you there. Take care and bye.